Live, cause I thrive, I might just blow your mind tonight. I'm so hyped, but it's no hype. From this height, it's direct hits on sight. I'm your type, lend me your ears to show you that there's something in me. I'm not giving up, I'm standing right here, holding these days hostage. And I'll make this my year. We turning fear into love, and the love's in the air. I love doing this cause nothing compares. Nothing can share that same type of feeling when you feeling them flares. They can't catch it, it's havoc. I rip to a tear, switch a scenario. My stereos, I leave them impaired. Variables start to change and they're all in my range. I just gotta grab it, it's all mathematics. Every step is drastic, I make it fantastic. I'm trying to take your breath away. Asthmatic.
This is live through the stereo. Go and let it blow, blow through the stereo. I'ma let them know through the stereo. Yo, here we go through the stereo, stereo. This is live through the stereo. Go and let it blow, blow through the stereo. I'ma let them know through the stereo. Yo, here we go through the stereo, stereo.
Yeah, just nod your head with it. So explicit and vivid. Every image is intricate, intimate. I put my all into it. No scrimmage and no rules. I'm a pro tool. Hear my heartbeat beat into the vocals. I'm so no-go, lost my mind, oh no. It's ponderoso, dope, so no overdose, cause it's dope, yo. Man, this is house grown, mixed with some milestones. So I let the style flow down like the Dow Jones. Bringing it with some foul tones, letting the crowd know we getting loud, so it's eardrum rudiments. Yeah, we bring it rude again. Move, little hooligan. Music for tuning in, full time to the 10. I'm on my clock like I told you. I'm doing this for dreams we pursuing.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Anti-Media Radio Show. Once again with your host Nick Bernabe here on ucy.tv and the antimedia.org/radio. Really happy to be back, alive and well on this Wednesday, March 21st, 2018. A lot of stuff going on, and we're just going to keep going at it. We're covering a lot of this Facebook stuff last week and ongoing. I mean, this leak, Facebook bungling it, finding out how much of your data has been getting trapped by Facebook and sold off to the highest bidder, including politicians. They've been using these tactics for years and years and years, just kind of with impunity. And so now, I guess we've been talking about this stuff for a long time. You know, Facebook being one of these necessary evils, I guess, that everybody's there. And so in order to reach people, we've, for the last years, had to be on this platform trying to, you know, connect with people on the platform. But we've always been concerned about these privacy, you know, issues. And, you know, 2012, the Obama administration was able to use similar data to what the Trump administration pulled out, although they, of course, used it in a different way. I think Obama ran more of a positive campaign, while Trump ran on, you know, fear-mongering and, you know, what you need to be scared of, your deepest, darkest fears, your anxieties, your, you know, the things that you were secretly worried about and stuff like that. But why is it now that this information comes out that, you know, Facebook data has been weaponized for politics? Why is it now a big deal? You know, of course, this whole thing with Trump and Russia and, you know, everything with Trump being blamed on like an outside power, outside source. I think there's a lot of reckoning going on. There's a lot of reckoning going on where America doesn't want to take credit for its deep, dark beliefs that it has, you know. And these people, look, Trump played within the system. He won through the Electoral College. And, you know, it's like they say, well, it's an imperfect system, but it's the best we got, right? Trump was able to tap into that, manipulate it, and beat it, and he beat Hillary Clinton. Now, did Russia favor Trump over Hillary? Obviously. I mean, why wouldn't they? I mean, if I was a foreign power, of course I would want someone like Trump running the country, because it's some delusional, lying, you know, divisive guy that has very little experience running the world's strongest country, yeah, I would want Trump instead of Hillary too. If I was on the other side of the gun, if I was a person or a country that would be considered an enemy of the United States, yeah, I'd be going for Trump too. But I'll tell you what this leak really does tell me. It tells me that Americans and the ones that voted for Donald Trump, and a bunch of the ones that didn't vote for Donald Trump as well, hold some really nasty views about other human beings. Right? They're afraid of Muslims. They're afraid of Latinos. They're afraid of black people. They're afraid of immigrants of all sorts. Now, this is not the whole country, and, you know, I talked about this in the last show. Out here in California, we see things a bit differently. There's places around the country that see things a bit differently. The whole country ain't racist. The whole country ain't bigoted. The whole country ain't anti-immigrant. The whole country doesn't hate refugees. But enough of them do to elect a guy like Donald Trump. Enough of them do. And that's what this leak tells me. And these guys were able to harvest this data, find out the anxieties of these people who Trump was looking for to find his base, to find the people who are going to elect him. And he was able to scare them just enough to get them to vote. And now, of course, this brings up even bigger questions. Why, like, what kind of system do we have where the people most likely to vote are voting against something? This isn't a new phenomenon. This isn't, oh, Trump got all the fucking assholes out to vote. This has been going on for a long time. We've written about this. There's been studies on this. The statistics, the data, it's all there. People vote against Obama. People vote against Hillary Clinton. People vote against Mitt Romney. People vote against Donald Trump. They don't vote for something. That's exactly why Hillary Clinton wound up being the Democratic nominee. Nobody fucking wanted Hillary Clinton outside of rich, middle-class white women. Outside of that, nobody gave two fucks about Hillary Clinton. Nobody wanted her for shit. She was the most unlikable candidate ever besides Donald Trump. So why was she the nominee? Well, because we got to vote against the Republicans. We got to stop Trump. So just shut your mouth. Forget about how we cheated Bernie out of the primaries. Just support Hillary Clinton or you're going to have Trump. And that kind of thinking is what gave us Trump. So it's a bigger, much bigger problem here that we're looking at. Politics feed on fear. And they tell you all the shit you want to hear, right? Donald Trump goes around saying, oh, we're going to stop crime. We're going to stop terrorism. We're going to fix our economy. We're going to build a wall, and Mexico's going to pay for it. And what's Donald Trump doing? He's dropping more bombs on the Middle East than have ever been dropped, which is going to create more and more terrorism. Mexico ain't paying for the wall. There's been a bunch of fucking shootings. This kid's out in Austin bombing people. He ain't making it safer. So they tell you what you want to hear, and they scare the fuck out of you, get you to vote. That is politics. And the fact that anyone can say, well, up until this point, America has been this great, strong democracy and blah, 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 blah. Fuck off, dude. You guys have no clue what's going on around here. It hasn't been. America is not a democracy. It's a republic in name only. It's an oligarchy. And I'll tell you what, Trump is just a little speed bump in their little agenda that they got going on. Because, yeah, he may be an unscripted candidate, and maybe Hillary Clinton was supposed to be the president. But that hasn't really changed much, because guess what? Mike Pompeo is being put in charge of the State Department. A fucking CIA torturer is being put in charge of the CIA. Goldman Sachs is in charge of the economy. Defense contractors and military generals are in charge of the foreign policy. Donald Trump may be an unscripted figurehead, but that's all he is a figurehead. So our problems are much bigger than Cambridge Analytica. And, oh my God, they've scooped some information from Facebook, and that helped Donald Trump get elected. All of a sudden, it's a big fucking deal. When Obama did the same shit in 2012, it was not a big deal. It was like, oh, that's awesome. Obama was so awesome with Facebook and social media. He's the first social media president. It's so great. And then, you know, some douchebag like Trump gets it, and it's like, oh my God, Russia, and this is so bad. These guys are trying to keep up this charade is all that's happening. And that's the only thing Trump is good for. Trump is good to lift the mask off of the charade that they pretend America is. America is not the greatest country on the earth. America is not the moral force of the earth. America is not going around the world spreading democracy and freedom and shit. If you believe that, you'll believe fucking anything. And that's what these dudes are. This is what this whole effort about discrediting Donald Trump and, oh, it's Russia, it's Russia, it's Russia, and oh my God, I can't believe Facebook allowed that to happen. That's what all that's about. It's about maintaining this facade, this veneer of a moral, just government, the only moral, just government in the world, besides Israel, of course, that can go around and spreading freedom and spreading democracy and, you know, ensuring the safety of the world, when in fact the United States is actually backing dictatorships, decreasing democracy, overthrowing democratically elected governments, creating instability around the world, and the only country in the world spreading all these fucking wars everywhere. It's a facade. And that's the bigger problem. But that ain't what they're talking about right now on the news. They're talking about Cambridge Analytica, and some dude developed one fucking app, and that one app, we're supposed to believe now, got Donald Trump elected with the help of Vladimir Putin. That's what we're supposed to believe. I'm not buying it. I'm sorry.
Anything, dude.
I'm sorry. If you're buying that, then you'll buy anything. Like, I'll sell you some fucking beachfront property in Colorado right now if you're gonna buy that shit. Anyway, welcome to the show, DB Schwartz. What's up, man? How you doing tonight?
Not too bad, man. But just reading all this stuff going on is if there wasn't such serious shit at stake, it would actually be hilarious.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. I mean,
dude, like what you just said, and then what you hear from the other side of the aisle. I mean, the truth is in some gray area. Like, you hear the far left media, you hear the far right media, and they're both blowing smoke right up the American public's butt, dude. And like, I don't know. I mean, you're at the point of the spear, dude, where you're getting taxed into oblivion now. I think what's waiting for the rest of the country is what's going on in California right now, where, I mean, honestly, dude, is $100,000 a year, I heard, is middle class now. And I mean, out here, that's pretty wealthy. So I don't know, man. I don't think the U.S. is going to recover from the staggering debt it has worldwide. And I think the American people they don't really have a way to fathom what $70K means. You're born $70K into debt. So imagine that exponentially increasing through interest payments, essentially. If you want to know why the dollar loses 4% of its value every year, no matter what, it's because you're born with $70K of debt. I mean, that's as simple as it gets.
Yeah, and I was checking out some of the tweets today from the guys in the Freedom Caucus up in Congress. You know, there's a handful of Congress people that are actually genuinely people out there looking out for you. Now, do they have their own political beliefs and stuff? Yeah, but there are some people genuinely looking out for you. Justin Amash, you know, Thomas Macy, to a lesser extent, I would say Rand Paul. On the other side, of course, you got Bernie Sanders, you got Tulsi Gabbard and stuff. You know, these people, I may not agree with their politics and stuff, but I feel like at least they're actually genuinely trying to look out for the American people. But the problem is they are a tiny, tiny minority of the rest of Congress. The rest of Congress are fucking assholes. Like, the rest of Congress don't give two shits about anybody. They're just trying to make their money and hook up their homies. And
the senators are way worse.
Yeah, and the evidence of this is that they brought to vote, some of these guys I just mentioned, they brought up to vote against or vote whether we're in favor or against the war in Yemen, with, you know, what's going on there, which is more or less just a a human catastrophe that you can't even imagine it. Like the people here in the United States can't even imagine right now what's going on in Yemen. We're talking about
Nick. It's empire building. It's simply empire building for Saudi Arabia because their time as a global oil superpower is finite. Within our lifetimes, they will tap their fields. They can't grow any food. The only place in that area that grows food is Yemen. So they're literally fighting for their future survival, and they're going to steamroll Yemen to do it. And that's the messed up part about geopolitics. I mean, Yemeni people and the average Saudi people, if they met, just like every other person in the world, when you meet, there's not a problem. The problem is the government and these so-called elites, these inbred rich bastards at the head of every country's governments. Doesn't matter which country.
Yeah.
And they're the ones fighting, man. They're the ones fighting, taking over stuff, and we're just the collateral damage. So
exactly.
Yeah, Yemen is a huge problem because it's a resource grab, just pure and simple.
Exactly. These dudes that run these countries are looking at it from a resource perspective, from like basically a business perspective, and saying, "Damn, you know." I mean, I haven't looked into.
Our conglomerate's going to run out of food. How do we save our conglomerate? I guess we'll just ally with Israel and boot stomp Yemen.
Yeah, dude. And so it's so sad, and at the same time, they just go and they generate nationalism within the people, turn it on the people of Yemen, for instance, with Saudi Arabia. It's like, oh, Yemen is the problem, Yemeni people or Qatari people. I mean, they've had beef with several people recently. They use that and they turn it against the people. They convince the public that, oh yeah, Yemenis are bad people. We got to go fuck them up. They've been fucking us up. They've been, robbing us or stealing from us or doing us wrongly. And that's, it's a time-old trick. You stir up fear. You convince them that someone else is a threat. Convince them of an external threat. You get people relatively united behind that idea. And you say, okay, well, here's the solution. Problem, reaction, solution. Okay, we're going to go take out Yemen. And, like I was saying, there was a few people in Congress that tried to bring that up to vote so that the United States would be forced to withdraw its support for what's going on in Yemen, which, like I was saying, is just the greatest catastrophe you've ever seen. I mean, I literally can't even imagine what's going on there, but you got, just kids dying every hour just from starving and from just being, sick. Kids just not having access to clean water and food that's not spoiled. That is killing people, right? We're over here in the U.S. We're like, oh my God, these kids keep going to schools and shooting up the schools, and we got to do something about that. The kids in Yemen are dying from not even having clean water or food that is refrigerated. Hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of kids every single day.
I think It was, last check, Nick, it was 30 a day. So, I mean, but that's a staggering amount. That's more than one every hour.
Yeah, dude, and it's just...
I may be way off on that, but I think that was the last thing.
Yeah, I forget the exact number, but yeah, dude, it's a lot. It's really, really bad. And
well, Palestine's about to suffer the same thing. The problem is you get water cut off, and then dysentery begins because people drink out of pools and there's no sanitation. So that's the biggest thing, man. It's like the dysentery, people drink the wrong water and they just die. And it's just, there's nothing you can do. You can't save them because they get poisoned and the body tries to expel it and they dehydrate so fast they die. So it's just like, it compounds itself. And already, it's not a place where they grow a ton of food. They're literally being massacred because they can grow a little bit of food in the middle of the desert. And it's just a farce, dude. We could desalinate you could desalinate every single desert in the world and grow enough food in the Gobi to feed the whole world. So it's just total BS like usual.
Yep, of course it is, man. And it's just a bunch of short-term thinking, a bunch of greed, a bunch of people allowing these assholes to do what they do, including us and including Americans and U.S. citizens. Look, they held the vote They tried to get Congress to say yay or nay on Yemen, and they wouldn't even put it up to the committee. Like, they couldn't even get enough support to get this thing to a vote. And we're talking about an illegal war. We're talking about illegal war that's undeclared, that doesn't even fall under the scope of the 2001, authorization for the use of military force. Like, Yemen's not even within that scope because they're not even fighting. It's not a war against terrorism. They're actually fighting another group fighting for to become the new government of Yemen. Like, it's an actual war, and that's the U.S. claims that it's not officially involved, that they just doing drone strikes and airstrikes supposedly against Al-Qaeda factions over there, but that they're materially supporting Saudi Arabia in the war against Yemen. So that's what the U.S. is like claiming, that we're not actually participating directly, we're just fucking funding the Saudis, arming them, giving them all access to our surveillance, giving them all of our intelligence and all that. So we're just enabling them to commit this act of mass murder, basically. And nobody in Congress gives a shit, and no one in Congress gives a shit in a large part because no one in the U.S. is giving a shit either. Like, I don't hear anybody in my day-to-day, out at the store. I don't even think
anyone knows what's going on.
Does anyone even know that we're in Yemen in a fucking war right now, and people are getting it's basically genocide? Does anyone even know or care?
Nick,
it's crazy.
I talked to a guy yesterday that didn't even know that we'd attacked Russia and Syria. And I was like, dude, we hit them again and they hit us back. It sort of escalates kind of de facto. Like, there's not a way to stop something once it starts. Like, it's super easy to start something, and once it starts, it becomes tit for tat. You hit my base, I hit yours. I'll take a drone out. Now I'll take a MiG out. The problem with messing with Russia is, one, you can't invade, and two, their ICBMs are like miles ahead of ours. So what are we going to do? Get in a missile war with Russia? It's not going to hit military bases exclusively. Like, it'll spread to them launching on us to make us stop launching on them. That's basically what I see.
Yeah, what are we going to expect? The U.S., who goes around the world claiming to be the moral superpower and the one who respects, international law and human rights and stuff. We're all over the back of Assad because we claim that he's been using chemical weapons, although there's hasn't been legitimate proof brought forward on that. We claim that we have the right to bomb Syria if they use chemical weapons. The United States has done some really awful things on when it comes to bombing cities and civilian centers, and you can basically look back through every single war that the U.S. has been involved in. The most recent one, there was an anniversary of My Lai from Vietnam, which was a major massacre. Of course, in Iraq with Fallujah, in Syria, they've been using depleted uranium weapons, right? And so we're talking about ongoing war crimes, right, where they're attacking civilian centers. Are we to think that if we actually got into a shooting war with another country, that they would actually respect international law, or that Russia, let's just say the scenario came up where it escalated and Russia was like, all right, well, shit, we got to retaliate, we got to bomb the United States. Do you think Russia's going to say, we're going to bomb their military base, right there, and we're just going to leave the rest of, L.A. alone?
They have to know that it wouldn't matter, Nick, because our bases get hit all the time and soldiers die all the time. And people here never bat an eye. So the only way to make us stop attacking them would be to hit our pop. I know that sounds shitty, but in a tit-for-tat situation where it escalates, that's the only way to make us stop, because then we'll apply pressure on our own government to make them stop if we're getting hit. And that's why I've said, and we've said this time and time and time again, Nick, the next war is not going to avoid these shores. I don't think people get that oceans don't really matter too much anymore. You keep shooting missiles, and you keep shooting them, and one's going to hit. I mean, I don't care how many things we have to stop missiles. We're not going to stop them all. They have thousands and thousands and thousands of missiles they can launch. Probably an endless supply with the Siberian resource base they have. Seriously. They probably have millions of missiles because they knew they had to make them to compensate, because we have the Air Force and every other conventional asset, but we know we can't invade them because of topography, weather, their sheer size, and now because of their missile tech. So I don't know what Americans think when they think that the government's doing them a favor by agitating Russia. What the government's telling Russia when they do these things is, go ahead and hit our major population centers. Fuck them.
Yeah, dude. And so, this is why all this stuff is a big fucking deal. Like, this shit that has been happening recently has been so big. I mean, this thing where we hit the Russian guys in Syria, this is something that we've been warning about for a long time, and that could be a major escalation, factor, right? And the fact that happened, and it honestly didn't make that many waves or cause any kind of protest from anybody. Congress didn't do anything. There was no inquiry into this. There was very little news articles about it. It's maybe the most troubling thing for me right now is the apathy of the public when it comes to these foreign policy things.
Because we haven't gotten hit yet, Nick. But if we fight Russia, we're going to get hit. I'm just saying, I'll say it a million times. Russia, China can both hit us anytime they want, anytime. There's nothing we can do about it. So that's what we're getting. They have to be prepping for that themselves. They're building dumbs all over the place, but they're not building any underground bunkers like Russia has for their civilian pop. So, they're obviously just going to offer us up on a platter if we don't stop them.
Yeah, dude. And so I hate to say this, but it is going to take something awful happening, I think, before the American people even give a shit to care about this at all. Because right now it's
scares me the most.
Right now the thing that's got people kind of mobilized the most is taking away gun rights. Like, the thing that has people most upset right now is them trying to take away gun rights. Either from some people or from all people, certain guns, certain rights. That is what Americans are giving a shit about right now. And to me, that is just mind-blowing considering the shit going on all around the world and overseas, domestically. I mean,
That's why they're doing it, Nick.
I mean, to me, the shit going on with ICE and them snatching up immigrant family members and shit like that, that is a bigger deal than gun rights. Like, that is a bigger deal than these school shootings. I hate to say it, but the school shooting, the statistics are there. They're on the decline. They're not increasing. They're getting less common.
They're all signs of, this Roman Empire collapse, Nick. Even ICE's actions of booting everybody they can to get them out, because they know that we're about to basically reorganize ourselves, and there's going to be a financial collapse. So they want to boot, and they're going to push anybody that's here out, as many people as possible. And then everybody here is going to get kind of trapped in. I mean, I think you and me, we've talked about this before. So, that's what they want to do. They want to get you to give up your guns voluntarily, and then they're going to declare a massive war, and then they're going to expel everyone, and then you can't get out. I mean, I hope everyone kind of gets that.
Yeah, but maybe at that point, Mexico is actually going to be like, you know what? Maybe the wall's a good idea. Put that shit up there, dude. We need to keep you motherfuckers in. And so, yeah, it ain't good, dude. And I don't know what it's going to take. I thought this thing where the U.S. hit Russia and Syria, I thought that would be pretty big, but it didn't. It just wasn't, dude. And I mean, we try to put out the content on this stuff happening, and I hate to say it, bro, but it just doesn't. It's not the kind of content that gets it's not the kind of content that goes viral. It's just not something people care to know about right now for whatever reason. I swear they're just, it's almost like they're too distracted by Trump, and they're too distracted with just everything that's, everything is so fast and everything is moving and everything is just, there's so much goddamn theater right now that people can't even, it's not that they don't know about the horrible shit. It's even worse than that. They don't even care to know about it, I think. Because they're so overwhelmed with everything else. I don't think the American people are particularly bad people. I don't think that we're particularly ignorant. I think everyone around the world is pretty much on a similar level, right? I think that they become so good at the propaganda here and the just engaging us. I mean, look at just stuff with Facebook, how they're able to totally game everybody to vote for Donald Trump by just getting a couple 100,000 people to give surveys and then give up the data on all of their friends list. Just by doing that, they're able to hack into your brain and convince you to vote for Donald Trump. I mean, this shit goes on all around the world. This is the same reason why the Nazis were able to hack into the brain of the German people and say, hey, you know what? We got the solution. We need to fucking ban Jews from Germany, and we need to fucking, demand better terms from our, neighbors and stuff. And with the combination of fear-mongering and making promises, that's, I think, also how the Nazis came to power. They scared the shit out of everyone, then they promised everyone a solution to it, and then that's how they were able to find their support.
Well, the parallels of the Nazis and what's going on now are they're harrowing, dude, because Judea declared war on Germany. Judea declared war on Germany in 1933. And that would be akin to if tomorrow on CNN, the deep state declared war on Donald Trump. So a bunch of weird shit was going on in the 30s. So, I mean, it all kind of blew up in everybody's face. And it was way different than anybody thought. So, I mean, yeah, there was a lot of racism that went on, but I don't know. We don't want to get into a World War II show here with pressing real issues going on in the real world right now. But of course they do come back to it because we always circle around to paperclip. And what they're starting to find out is people in positions of power right now are sons of paperclip people. I don't know if you've been seeing this, Nick, if you've delved into it, but I mean, a lot of paperclip sons are in positions of power running the country right now. And that's what people considered the deep state, if you will.
I didn't know that, but I would, just to support that, I'm assuming that a lot of paperclip ended up getting rolled into the CIA, right? Because when paperclip happened, I think it was before the CIA was created, right?
Yeah, so the OSS was the MI6, which has been around for like 300 years. They pioneered them and then convinced the U.S. to continue on with the OSS, but to morph it into the CIA. That's why the Crowns controlled them forever, and now they've basically been rolled into the mantle of the NSA because the U.S. has taken back its intelligence apparatus. So we're in some interesting times ahead, man. A lot of the shit you're seeing going on right now with all these school shootings is straight up like it's some mind control bullshit for sure on these poor kids, dude. I mean, they're getting activated or something.
Yeah, dude. I mean, it
can't be an organic epidemic of school shootings for what? From what? From opioids? I mean, give me a good reason why.
It's group psychology, right? Like I said, look,
it can't be across states though.
Yeah, but no, look, the stats show that the school shootings are actually lower than they were in the 90s.
That's true, but why?
But you got to remember after. Yeah, so that's the thing that I was going to bring up. After Columbine, right? Columbine was like everybody fucking knew about Columbine. Like that was like Columbine was almost like one of those 9/11 events. It was one of those really big things, right? After that is when they started sensationalizing the fuck out of school shooting. The statistics actually show a decrease from the 90s till now in school shootings. The difference is that now it's made into this huge deal. where I guess, I don't know, maybe they found out it gave good ratings, or I don't know, dude. But the news companies cover the shit out of that. And then behind the scenes, what you have going on is astroturfing, basically, where you have these kids at the school who are victims, right? And then you got this very emotional reaction to it. You got the victims there, which have more persuasion over people. And then behind the scenes, you got organizations that already have a gun control agenda that they're already fighting for. What they're doing now is tapping right into these kids and giving them the fuel that they need and the infrastructure and the resources to create this kind of, you know, youth movement. And so, on one hand, it isn't organic. It's not. It's not organic. It's induced by media hysteria. And then you got these basically democratic organizations behind the scenes. One example I know of for sure that's helping these kids is MoveOn.org. And those organizations are giving the kids the infrastructure, the training, the funding, to be able to do what they're doing, which is like massive social media campaigns, this big walkout, and all that stuff. On the other hand, I think that America's youth are very frustrated right now, dude, because these kids, think about it, for us millennials, we're the generation that first realized, oh shit, the American dream is basically dying off for the majority of us, right? And then these younger kids are like our little brothers and sisters and stuff, and then we're like telling them, oh, hey shit, kids, sorry bro, but that shit ain't like what they told you in school. And like they're finding out before they're going through high school about what's actually going on. These kids are super frustrated, dude, and I think that part of this movement, this walkout, this anti-gun high school movement, is part of it is just these dudes hijacking some existing or actual organic sentiment there, where these kids are frustrated as shit. I mean, did you see the Google autofill thing? Where we actually talked about this on the show, where it's like, school makes me feel, if you just type that into Google, it'll bring up like these like really crazy results. School makes me feel sad. School makes me feel depressed. School makes me feel suicidal. These kids are frustrated, dude. And this anti-gun movement, I think, unfortunately hijacked some of that frustration and turned it into this manufactured, you know, anti-civil rights movement, which is what we should start calling this thing, because gun rights, let's face it, like do middle-class white people, you know, at least throughout our history, did they really need guns to defend themselves from persecution? Not so much. Like, gun rights, I think, are actually most important for people who are marginalized and who are discriminated against, because that is your equalizer, right? Having a gun equalizes you. If you're a Muslim living in a city who is unfriendly to Muslims, the gun provides you equalization, where if some fucking racist KKK fuckers try to jump you, you pull out the gun and you're equalized. I mean, that to me...
The thing that makes me, like, completely... I can't even... just don't understand it is... Like, just from a logical perspective, if you were a smaller female, why would you not pack? Why? Why would you just put yourself out there like that? I mean, why would you not protect yourself from what could potentially be the R word? I mean, I would if I was small and around people that could do that to me just randomly. I mean, so for me, it's an asinine sentiment when I see women marching against their right to self-defense. You'll never get a cop to protect you in time, ever, period. Yeah. Just straight up. Yeah, I've had situations where I've called cops. They haven't done a thing, ever to protect anyone.
Yeah, same here.
It's not their job description. Their just job description is to protect property first, and then persons of value, not you. So that's their job description.
Yep. And yeah, dude. So, you know, I really don't think, like, do anyone out there listening, if you know kids in this age range, talk to them and see what they have to say, because I have a feeling that these kids are being misrepresented, because I really don't see a bunch of frustrated high school kids that are badass enough to walk out of school to be out here marching against rights. I really don't see that. I think that they've been hijacked. I think that they're being misrepresented by whoever they decide to put on the fucking media, which, of course, are those kids. These kids ain't that stupid, dude. They're just frustrated. They're not stupid enough to march against rights. They're not stupid enough to say, hey, disarm us. We disarm us for our own good. Honestly, I don't know any fucking buddy that thinks that way. And I live in California where it's liberal as shit, and you would think, like, oh, this is the state that hates fucking guns. No, it ain't. Our politicians hate guns. And they trick us into believing that everyone else hates. Like, that's really what happens, dude. Like, they trick us into thinking, oh, well, everyone else don't like guns, so we're going to pass a bunch of strict gun laws here in California. Okay, yeah.
You're so
we don't give a shit.
You're so right, dude.
But, dude, like, I live in liberal central in Southern California, and I don't know a single person, and I know plenty of people that lean far left. I don't know a single person that's like, yeah, disarm us for our own good. The cops are totally protect us. Everyone around here is like, yeah, the cops don't fucking show up for 30 minutes. And, yeah, what the fuck is a cop going to do for me? He ain't going to do shit. Everyone around here is like, if I see a cop, I'm probably in trouble. I don't want to see a cop. I'd rather not. So they got this group psychology, and they use the media to manipulate everybody, to make them think that, oh, if you're Democrat, well, you're against guns. Go talk to any Democrat you know. And tell me how many of them are for banning guns. I bet you not very many. There's probably some, but I bet you that there's not very many. They trick us into believing that shit. And I saw the damn... there was a poll that came out on Forbes that showed, well, it was for millennials, not these younger kids, but for millennials, although they were quote-unquote liberal on social issues, which would be meaning supporting gay rights, supporting legal marijuana, supporting, the trans issue and all that stuff. Millennials mostly support that, but the poll was like, it was like, but surprisingly, we found out that millennials aren't actually more against gun rights than their, parents. And so, yeah, I mean, that's actually what's happening. Like, people are being tricked into thinking that this is a popular idea. Oh, yeah, we got to control guns and stuff. They're being tricked.
Thank God for the internet, Nick, that people that could just research a simple meme where they'd show what happened when Mao and Stalin got guns from the populace and what they did right after. I mean, to think it wouldn't happen here is beyond naive, especially with so much dissension and so much societal difference, just region to region. You could imagine they would clean house here in a second if the second got repealed. So to me, I don't really think of gun nuts as being nuts. I really think more of gun control people as being gun control nuts, because that shit's in the Constitution, because it's the literal skeleton that holds up the body of the rest of it, since the rest of it are guarantees that were won as concessions from the crown to install our own government, what is now a de facto corporate government, but hopefully will get taken back soon. But what I mean to say is that the First Amendment doesn't work without the Second, because you really can't defend the First without the Second. If you want to see what's going on without the Second, just go to the UK. I sent you that thing, that greater than a hater bullshit they're doing over there now. They're taking hate speech to an extreme of 1984.
So this guy on YouTube in the UK, he taught his dog how to do a Nazi salute, and he thought it'd be funny he thought it'd be a funny joke for his girlfriend, right? And he made a YouTube video about it, showcasing his dog doing the Nazi salute whenever he would say like "Sig Heil" or something, and he posted a video on YouTube, and of course it went viral and all that. This dude was just convicted of hate speech, and he's going to prison for that. For teaching his dog how to do a Nazi salute. He's going to prison. Of course, this is in the UK, not in the US, but still. The UK is like where they test out the bad shit, and then they bring it here after.
Well, what it means to me, Nick, is like there's going to be there's enough of a societal rift now in the US that the UK is starting to look like alien to me. Like, I don't even recognize it as the parent culture anymore. I actually praise praise God that we split up from them, dude, because they're going down a path there's no coming back from.
Yeah, and and so they're doing that. Just I heard recently that they, didn't they deport? They deported some far right dude. I mean, these are the kind of alt right people.
Well, they're making
it would be imagine Richard Spencer left the country to go give a speech in fucking Australia or something, and when he tried to come back, they said, "Nah, bro, you ain't welcome back here." Now,
well, the worst.
Look, I'm the hugest critic of Richard Spencer, the alt-right, the white supremacists, and all these fucking assholes. But it should not be left to the government to say, "Oh, well, that kind of speech isn't allowed here anymore." And that's why the U.S. does have these very strong free speech laws where we tolerate shit like the KKK and all that shit to exist. At least from the government's perspective, they can't go and infringe on the stupid, crazy, ridiculous shit they're saying, right?
Because everybody has an activity, behavior, or thought pattern that can be marginalized at any time for any reason.
And look, dude, I'm not saying that... Look, when Richard Spencer got punched in the face, I was all for that. Because Richard Spencer got punched in the face by another individual person, some other, just non-governmental individual, came up and said, "You know what? I'm sick of hearing you talk a bunch of racist shit," and he punched that fool in the face. I totally support that. But I don't want the government saying, "Hey, people like Richard Spencer can't say that kind of stuff because it's dangerous." But the U.S. government isn't doing that quite yet. But in the UK, they're doing that right now. And like I said, this dude made his dog fucking do a Hitler salute, and now he's going to prison for that. And then the people on the far right are going out of the country giving speeches in Europe and stuff, and they try to come back in, and they're barred from re-entering. I can't stand those people. I hope they die soon. But at the same time, it's very dangerous to allow the government to start deciding at its own, on its own will, say, "Oh, well, this type of speech isn't allowed." Oh, and we shut down the far right dudes last year, but oh, by the way, the communists can no longer exist in this country, so they're not allowed back in, and they can't post anything online. Once you start doing this kind of stuff, it's
just if you're the flavor of the week they don't like, dude. That's all it is.
Exactly. And so it's just dangerous stuff. Now, would I be sad if someone assassinated some neo-Nazi leader in the United States? No. I would be like, damn.
Nobody would give a shit.
I'm glad that fool got killed. You know what I'm saying?
No one give a shit if any racist gets killed.
Yeah, but at the same time, it's while respecting the individual's right to deal with a situation like that, where it's yeah, dude, that guy was a target of these neo-Nazis, and if they had their way, his whole family would be dead. He proactively went and fucking took out that dude. I'd be honestly, I'd support that. But at the same time, the issue here is that we can't start letting the government pick and choose these kind of people who are allowed to speak and who are allowed to exist in this country. Because when we do, we open it up to a whole fucking field of people who maybe they're going to say anarchists can't exist, libertarians, socialists, progressives. I mean, who's next?
We've already seen what happens in the past when there's groups that are weak. What happens to them? So, I mean, the only thing to do is band together as common humans that are... I mean, there's a fine line of evil and good. I mean, I think we can all agree that there are certain things certain people do that are straight up evil, and those people should never be supported or be, tolerated. But if you're a good person, if you're just trying to make your way in the world, you're not hurting other people, you're doing your best. I mean, that's what society needs to band around, is those kind of people so that we can make communities. I mean, that's all I have to say about it. It's decentralization like always. We need to get split apart. And these mega cities with these mega complexes being built all over where I'm at, probably where you are at, Nick, where they're putting up a bunch of 4- and 5-story places because they can slam 100 people into a square block. I mean, that's the kind of shit we don't want. So, and they're just forcing it down our throats with UN 2030. So, decentralize, get off grid, I mean, if you could get to the point where you don't have to go to work anymore, you can survive just staying at home and making money at home. That is the absolute key.
Yeah, dude, and withdrawing our consent, dude. Look, these guys, and look, I don't want to go overboard here, but just go to the antimedia.org and read the stuff that we've been posting on foreign policy. We've got some of the brightest people analyzing the trends that are going on, especially concerning China and Russia and the U.S. and the Middle East and other places. These guys are going to get us into a really, 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 really bad situation. Worse, probably, that the world's ever seen. Because, like they've said, World War, I don't know what kind of what kind of weapons World War III will be fought with, but World War IV will be fought with sticks and stones, right? Meaning that this next time that these asshole human beings start the next World War, which, by the way, according to history, we are somewhat overdue for. It's going to be such widespread catastrophe that it's going to be something of the likes we've never seen before. And so, before it's too late, we got to start withdrawing consent from these super states, because we're all human beings and we function best in small groups, and basically small tribes is the way human beings function best. With your own little group of people, you have your own community, you have your own little neighborhood, you do things your way, and there ain't some dickhead in Washington, D.C. telling you that you can't smoke weed or that you can't do whatever it is that you like doing in your community, right? If we don't start embracing that kind of attitude really soon, these guys are going to get us into another world war, and it ain't going to be pretty. Hopefully we survive. I mean, it'd be that bad.
But the problem is it could ruin the environment, and
and it could fuck the whole world's environment up.
Maybe people would survive, but I mean, there's a point where it's it's just an existence. So is that really what we want? Is we want to blow out the environment, and whoever's left is going to be cannibalizing each other and living some kind of awful fucking existence? I mean, that's what we're going to devolve into with these fat cats and their dumbs. They'll just go underground and wait it out, and it's they have it all planned out, and we can't fall into that trap, because the trap's going to be they get us to willingly disarm, and then they're going to be able to do something crazy like declare war on China or something and draft, and those who don't go along with it go into these mega prisons they're building. And then they have a border wall so you can't get south, and then to the north doesn't matter because that's an ally, so then you'll just get pulled into the draft. I mean, it's easy to see what's going to happen. So if you want to make it easy for them to liquidate you, go for it. But just know that there's people like me that are going to fight you. I'd rather fight my fellow people against my right to defend myself than the government itself. I hope that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah, dude. It's a big task on our hands, dude. And like I said earlier, dude, I don't know what it's going to take, because right now the American people are lulled into a fucking slumber, dude. They're all sleeping through this thing. It's all on cruise control. Everyone's doped out, and everyone's on fucking opiates, and everybody's distracted with a bunch of shit. And everyone's so broke that they're just trying to figure out what the hell they're going to do, that no one has time to really look at this, what's going on, and say, oh shit, dude, this is a really dangerous path we're on here, and we got to do something about it before it's too late. Everyone's just I don't know, I got my own shit to deal with, so.
There's not going to be another depression. The Great Depression 2.0 won't happen. There's going to be a Revolution 2.0, or they're going to find a way to stop that. That's the only things, because with everyone armed and this huge of a population, no one's standing in a bread line when we know that 6 guys own as much as 82% of us. It's not going to happen. That's why all these dudes are fleeing to New Zealand right now. I hope people should research that. Look at the mega farms that are being purchased in New Zealand. It's all the dudes from here. They're just jetting away before they know what's going to happen. So I don't know, man. I think it's inevitable. It is inevitable. We have 350, maybe 400 million people. We have 1 billion guns. and I don't think anything is going to stop what's inevitable.
Yeah, dude. So, this is why, how long have we talked about this? Building up our communities, getting our networks in place, defending ourselves. All very important things. And, unfortunately, the people who don't see it coming are going to suffer the worst. And hopefully the people that do see it coming, like maybe some of the people listening to our show and the people that follow our work, understand what's actually happening out here. And they're not just caught up in these false narratives where you think high school kids are out there taking away your guns and stuff. I don't see it, dude. Like, these high school kids ain't out here trying to take people's guns away. They're out here just trying to do their thing. Like,
well, I think they realize that if somebody actually has the balls to use one for their defense, like the guy it was Maryland, I think, right? Where the guy shot the kid.
Yeah, that was that was in Maryland.
I know it takes a special person. I don't know if he was a vet. I haven't researched it, but if we have one or two of those guys at schools with big populations of students in higher risk communities, I don't know. I'm not totally against it. Obviously, we don't arm teachers. That's stupid. But controlling point of entries with guys like that would actually protect kids. I'm fine with it, man. At least this guy protected the freaking kids. He did a job that probably cops would have to wait for SWAT to do. He did it with no vest. If he'd had actual, real equipment, I'm sure he probably could have prevented those 2 deaths, maybe. So you just have to have the right people that are. Well,
I think there were injuries. The only death was the actual gunman.
The actual guy, yeah.
Yeah.
So maybe.
Yeah, so they got injured.
Who knows, dude? I'm a proponent of letting people like that have the ability to do that, do it. Society should have protection and not just patrollers that give out tickets.
Yeah, I definitely applaud this guy in Maryland. He saved, who knows, he probably saved 10 lives by stepping up and not being a fucking coward like the dude in Florida. The dude in Florida, the video
what
came out.
What a goddamn wuss.
That guy was the guy just froze up and he was a coward. And
he didn't even freeze up. He drove away, dude.
Yeah, he was terrible.
He literally said, I can't. I'm not even going to pretend that if he froze up there and acted like he was just having a panic attack, he'd have at least a foot to stand on. But he got in his car and drove away.
Yeah. So, I'm a little mixed on this issue. Of course, I don't like the idea of militarizing schools and exposing kids to hyper-militarization, too much structure. Just it seems to me like they it's almost like school is like a little boot camp for kids, right? Where they bring these kids in who are free-spirited little 4-year-old, 5-year-old kids. They come out just growing up with their parents and being curious and asking questions and trying to find out what the hell the world's all about. And then they bring them in, they start regimenting them into this very militaristic style, education system. And then you surround them
That's
with,
the end goal, huh?
You surround them with guards and guns and fences. The fences around the schools now around here are 8 feet tall. And there's a perimeter around every school. And of course, part of it's to keep out perverts and shit. Part of it's to keep the kids from ditching and stuff. But there's no denying that the schools are very prison-like. Even the cafeteria food, you get the tray. It's just like prison, right? You get a tray, you go up, you get the food from the buffet thing, you get scoops of food, and then you sit back down with the group of people who is in your clique. Very prison-like. Thank you all for tuning in. Anti-Media Radio. We'll be back on Monday. Peace out.
For dreams we pursuing, but call it a reality, cause there's no illusion.
This is live through the stereo. Go and let it blow, blow through the stereo. I'ma let them know through the stereo. Yo, here we go through the stereo, stereo. This is live through the stereo. Go and let it blow, blow through the stereo. I'ma let them know through the stereo. Yo, here we go through the stereo, stereo.